This is Dr. Vaishali, and I'm reading from the book Substance of Homeopathy, book written by Dr. Rajan Shankaran, chapter number 52, Learning Homeopathy Through Life. On a visit to England for a seminar, while on the plane, I happened to get copy of the Reader's Digest. As I went through the various articles, I found that with my knowledge of homeopathy, I could see these articles in a new light. I also found that I could understand the place of homeopathy in life much better. In fact, I can say that I found the Reader Digest rather like a homeopathy materia medica, like Kant's lecture or Tyler drug picture. I found this study too fascinating that I thought it might be worth an entire seminar discussing on issue of the Reader Digest, and felt that this would bring homeopathy to life much more vividly. Here I give just one example such an analysis. I have chosen to the article of the boy and the billionaire, which is reprinted with permission from the April 1992 Reader Digest, copyright private limited something, and I have followed this with an analysis. The boy and the billionaire. It was his sense of humor that set Crank Shergold off from the other children. A natural entertainer with an exuberant personality, he loves to make people laugh. His greatest joy was putting on wigs and funny head and staging comedy skits for family and friend at his home in the London suburb of Carshalton. Craig brought the same energy, buoyant energy to Saucer, and but the autumn of 1988, what in the autumn 1988, his coach noticed a change in the 9-year-old normally aggressive play. He seems to have slowed down. The coach told Crank's father what's happened. Crank's complained of earache, and his mother, Marion, noticed that his eyes blinked repeatedly when he watched the television. He seemed lifeless, but the family doctor blamed it on Craig's grief over the recent death of the beloved grandmother. As the week passed, however, he became more and more subdued. And at Christmas, Craig did not even want to ride his new bicycle. This time, the doctor blamed Craig's problem on ear infection. Antibiotic did not help. A couple of weeks later, Craig suffered a violent bout of vomiting. Marion demanded an immediate hospital appointment, and specialists put Craig through a series of the tests, and then he ordered a brain scan. Afterward, Marian and Ernie were ushered into the doctor's office. I'm afraid I have bad news for you. Doctor said Craig has a brain tumor. Marian was speechless. Ernie bowed his head, and the tumor, the doctor continued, was lodged in a very dangerous spot near the top of the brain stem, which controlled breathing, heart rate, and blood pressure. An ambulance carted Craig to the Great Ormond Street Hospital in central London, and tumor surgery was soon scheduled. And Marion did not want to tell her son to crush that indomitable spirit. Crush his indomitable spirit, sorry. But she had always been truthful with him, and she did not want to break that trust. She sat at her son's bedside and held his hand. Craigs, do you know that you have what you have? And I think so, Mom. He mentioned a character from his favorite TV show who had a brain tumor. I think I have got what she has got. Craig said. Marion nodded. I want you to be very brave, she murmured, and he replied, I will be. Holding his stuffed elephant for luck, Craig was wheeled towards the operating room on January 17. Marion and Annie were at his side. Softly, Marion sang, I just called to say I love you, one of Craig's favorite songs. Kneeling in the hospital chapel, Marion remembered when she and Annie first learned that she was pregnant after 10 years of trying. They organized a big celebration at the restaurant where Marion worked as a waitress. Marion led everyone in the singing, dancing, and laughing. When Craig was born on June 24, 1979, the joy seemed certain to continue. Now she pleaded her son's life. Craig's not ready for you. I will not let you take him because it is not his time yet. It seems her prayer went unanswered. After an hour of surgery, the surgeon reported that he could not remove all of the tumor because of its dangerous location. 2 weeks later came the dreaded news. The pathology report indicated a malignant teratoma, an aggressive cancer of the brain. After his recovery from the surgery, Craig would receive a further treatment, but his death seems all but inevitable. Media attention. Marion quit her job as she could stay with her son in the hospital, and Ernie, a truck driver, came after work in the evening. One or the other way, by the boy's bedside, 24 hours a day, one person is there. Craig received so many get well cards from the family, friends, and social team team members that his doctor joked, "You ought to go for the Guinness Book of World Record." Shortly before transferring to the Royal Marsden Hospital, where he would undergo the chemotherapy and radiation treatment, Craig received a video-tapped get-well message from his favorite TV personality. Hearing this national newspaper published an article on this plucky boy fighting for his life. Soon other newspaper along with the radio and the television pick up the story. Craig become our kid courage to the British press. Craig's medical condition had worsened, and however, his leg and left arm became weaker, his speech slow and deliberate, his vision blurred. For all his pain, though, Craig never lost his sense of humor. He even joked about the baldness caused by the chemotherapy. "Who is there?" A visitor would respond, "Add air." Craig answered, "Add air who?" "And add air once, but now I am a bald," came the punchline. The fact that so many people cared gave Craig's hope, and one night in the hospital when chemotherapy had sapped his strength, Craig fought against the sadness he felt. "Mom," he said, "I will think about the card. Every time I do it make me feel better." In September, in an attempt to build Craig's morale, the Sergold told the press he would try to establish the Guinness record for most cards received. Days later, a small truck pulled up outside the Sergold home, carrying several large stacks of cards. The outpouring led to more publicity, which generally thousands more cards. He received cards from the Margaret Thatcher, Prince Charles, George Bush, Ronald Reagan, Mikhail Gorbachev, and two of the Craig's idol, Michael Jackson and the Sylvester Stallone. Craig started having a real hope of beating the record for most cards collected, one leg to 65 almost, held by the another English boy. This gave him a sense of purpose, made his condition something more than a cruel twist of fate. In fact, so many cards were pouring in that Craig received his own selection box at the Central Post Office in the London, making him the first person in the British history to be designated like a city for mail processing. On November 17, 1898, the big night arrived. Craig's, although Saki was allowed to go to the local saucer club for the ceremony. As 300 people gathered around, the local post office manager presented Craig's with the card number 1,266, more than previous boy. The record breaker. Craig said, "Thank you." Everyone began singing, for he is a jolly good fellow. Some 6,000 kilometers away in Carlottiville, USA, John Clugs began receive letters from friends. A soft-spoken man of the 77, Clugs is a billionaire who made his fortune in the telecommunications business. Clugs friendly told him about the Craigs and all his get well card. They urged Clugs to send a card. As Clug considered mailing a card, an inexplicable feeling came over him. Amid all the attention focused on the card campaign, he could not help wondering had every medical possibility been explored. Was there some treatment he could arrange for the boy? While Clugs had donated millions to worthy cause, he had never given money to an individual, and he did not want to start a precedent. And he did not want to raise hopes for the Craig's family. Still, he could not shake the idea that there might be some hope for the Craig. Clark found a close friend, Dr. Neil Cossell, professor of the neurosurgery at the University of the Virginia Health Science Center. Neil, he asked, could you contact the Sargol family? I have the feeling something important might have been overlooked. I will pay for the expense. Unable to reach the Sargol by phone, Castle sent a letter on August 7. Days passed and the sea Sargol and the sea and the Sargol did not answer. His letter of course had disappeared into the millions of others. Since breaking the record, the number of cards had skyrocketed to over 26 million. Craig had been in and out of the hospital regularly. On September 20, Craig's physicians, Dr. Dana Ted, asked Marian and Annie to come to her office. The news was not good. The latest scan shows Craig's tumor is growing again, Tate said, and the outlook was bleak. The circled were devastated, and this time they were telling Craig the news. The next morning, to get the mind of the get off the mind of from the situations, Megan decided to open some of the Craig's get well card from the stack of envelopes. Marian plucked the packet that contained Castle's letter. As she read it, her hand began to tremble. I can't believe this, she cried. Marian called the Castles immediately and told him of the discouraging prognosis. Castle said he could promise nothing but added that his medical center and recently purchased a gamma knife, a new instrument that could fire high energy radiations beam directly into the brain tumor. This might offer a possible treatment for the Craigs, he said. When Ernie returned home after work, Marion handed him the letter. I think God may have given us a miracle, he said. And Neil Castles leaned toward the light box for the closer look at the brain scan. In the center of the Craig's brain, he saw a grey egg-sized tumor that compressed his midbrain area and squeezed the brainstem. Castle's hope sank. The tumor was too big to be knocked out by the gamma knife. Moreover, the mass appeared to be branched out of the invade surrounding tissues, and that seems to confirm the lab finding that the tumor was malignant. If true, Castles realized Craig could never be cured. Besides, he thought if he did operate, Craig had a 1 in 5 chance of the dying as a result of the surgery. And even if the operation succeeded, he wondered what would Craig's really gain. A few months of life, Carson called a Clug with bad news. Some things are beyond medical help. He said, are you absolutely sure you can't treat it? Clugs persisted. Please think about it some more. Castle began searching within himself. The father of the 3 girls, he asked what he would want for them in a similar circumstances. He realized he would give them a fighting chance, despite the risk. Castle spoke to the Sargold in the late November. I might be able to help your son, he said, and the surgical risks were great. The benefit it's are chancy, and all he could do, Castle said, was surgical remove as much more much of the tumor as possible and hit the remainder with the gamma knife. And this might buy Craig some time. Castle suggested the couple ponder their alternative over the Christmas and let him know their decision after first of the year. For Maureen, the decision was agonizing. She did not want to put the Craig through any more pain. Ultimately, she and Annie decided to get Craig's make the decision. Mom, he said, no pain, no pain. No pain and no gain, sorry. Surgery was scheduled for March 1 at the University of Virginia Health Science Center. That morning, Maureen and Ernie stood at their son's bedside as Craig reassured them, I'm going to be all right, you will see. Moment later, as orderlies wheeled him toward the operating suite, Craig clutched his stuffed elephant cold out, I love you, Mom and Dad. He then began singing, I just called to say I love you. Castles remove a 5 centimeter oval or bone from the top of the Craig's skull, carefully separated his cerebral hemisphere, then splitting the band of the fiber joining the two halves, and Castles found the grayish white tumor almost in the exact center of the brain. It was encapsulated by the membrane, which has not shown up clearly on the scan. Good. Castles thought the tumor is much more contained than I had dared hope. Castles sliced open the membrane and began snipping and suctioning out the tumor. Moment by moment, his excitement mounted. This tumor did not appear malignant. Could it have some how chances changed character since the British lab analysis 2 years earlier? The more he cut away, the more convinced he became that Craig's might beat the odd one. Castle paused for a moment, and operation had been a big gamble from the start. Now, as he looked through the operating microscope and saw the final remain of the masses nestled in the Craig's brain, he knew he had to gamble again. He went even deeper. Castle left only one small section, mostly scar tissue. In very risky area, the tissue appeared dead, incapable of ever regrowing. The surgery had taken more than 5 hours, and Castle did not need the gamma knife. Drained and exhilarated, they left the operating room and went to tell the Craig's parents the good news. And Marion leaped up and kissed him. In intensive care unit, Marion leaned over the Craig's bedside and whispered, Craig's, the cancer is gone, all gone. Craig's eyes flickered open and he smiled. Craig's recovery was remarkable. His speech became faster and clear immediately, and he could pronounce words that had been impossible for him before the operation. 2 days after the surgery, when Castles walked into the Craig's room, Craig said, Doc, you are superclarifragilistic expellidiocus, and broke into the laughing. Any nonsense words are spoken and broke into the laughing. Lab tests found no trace of the malignant cell in the tumor tissue. No one would ever know for certain what had eliminated them. The important thing was that Craig's tumor was benign. A few weeks later, John Clugs came to the hospital to meet the circled. When the businessman entered the room, Marion grasped his hand and thanked him. You are our guardian angel, she said. And Clugs handed Craig's a two-headed coin. This way, he said, grinning, you will never lose. Then Craig presented a gift to the Clug, a mounted photograph of himself in a triumphant rocky pose, and taken several months earlier. In it, Craig wore boxing trunk and gloves. An American flag hung in the background. The inscriptions read, Thank you for helping me win the biggest fight of all. So, analysis of the story is what? Right from the very beginning, we see that the Craig's Harold is a special child. He is a set off from the other children, and he is an entertainer, and he loves to make people laugh. The idea here is that he need to be special. He need to make people laugh in order to feel appreciated and loved. We also see the Gregs normally quite aggressive and energetic. However, in the autumn of the 88, there was a change. The change was from this aggressiveness to the listlessness, from one extreme to another extreme. What brought about this change? We know that the Craig lost his beloved grandmother. What does the loss of grandmother means? In my understanding, the position of the grandmother in the child's life is very special. There is a difference in the love shown by the parents and the love shown by the grandmother or grandparent. Often, the love shown by one's parent seems conditional to the child. For example, I will give you a gift if you do well in the school. Whereas the grandmother's love is grandparents' love is usually unconditional. You get the gift anyway. The loss of the grandmother to Craig's could mean the loss of the only person in the world from whom he could get love without needing to do anything, especially without needing to entertain, perform, or achieve. Following the death of the grandmother, it is possible that Craig felt a greatly increased need to achieve, perform, and entertain the people. It became too much for him. Under this strain, he gave up and became listless and subdued. So we see in the Gregs the need to perform, and when this need become too much, we see the opposite, the inability to perform and to become a collapse state. And we see also this quick change between one extreme to another, from the height to the depth. Where could this nature have come from? I would think it is from his mother, Marion. Right from the very beginning, we see that the Marion can be very demanding person. She demanded an immediate hospital appointment. Also, it is a Marion who appear in the chapel, and it is in her restaurant that the whole celebration is organized. We see Marion as a person who sings, who dances, and who laughs, and seems to have the same energetic, exuberant attitude as a Craig had. Still later, we find the other extreme where she pleaded for her son's life and even seems to dictate to God, saying, Craig is not ready for you. I will not let you take him because it is not his time yet. So, the quality of exuberant energy, the high and low, seems to come from the Marian. Now we come to the interesting part, the miraculous care of the tumor. How did this happen? Craig's become famous. He became a special through the publicity, and he received charm. And his parents encouraged this by making him aim at the Guinness record, and it was this aim. This fame, this possibility of becoming someone special, that turned the tide for the Craig. We know that the Craig needed to be someone very, very special. He needed a lot of appreciation. He needed to be valued. This need was so high that it could not be satisfied by becoming a Guinness Book record holder. So he could only be satisfied by becoming a Guinness Book record. Sorry, he could now leave his delusion of being a very special person, as we saw in the previous chapter, state and the pathology. When a person is able to leave his delusion, he does not need the pathology. Thus, with the Craig's actualization, his decision of being somebody special, his need to have a brain tumor was no longer present. What could be a remedy for Craig's and his mother Marion? The need to perform and the aggressiveness which both of them share is the quality of the metal. As we have seen in the chapter of the periodic table of the metal, they need the one which craves appreciation, means delusion is not appreciated, and one that is entertaining, means the jesting, one that is very special and highly valued, means egotism, on one that is set off from the others, means forsaken, feeling estranged. It is obvious that we are talking about the platina. The quality of Marion can be translated into the rubric begging, entreating, and supplicating, crying for help, singing, religious, and dictatorial. Craig's tumor was cured after he created the record and received letter from the world's most famous people. But was he really cured of his state of platinum? From this statement, even after the surgery, it is quite clear that he is in the same state, means a state of retina. Is the biggest fight of all. Every word here is a platinum word, namely the biggest of all. Fight, helping me win. In fact, as a postscript or to the story, I must add that the last time I was in London, I heard that Craig has started a new project to set up the Guinness record for collecting the largest number of visiting cards. Therefore, Craig's need to be someone special, extra special, unique, better than anyone else. Persist, and so long as this need is satisfied, he will be free of pathology. But when he can find no means for being extra special, he probably develop some pathology, unless he receive the platina. I was also curious to know that the remedy for the other people in this story, namely the billionaire, the doctors, and the Craig's father. In the billionaire John Plug, we see the following quality. He is a soft spoken, anxiety for the health of the others. He keeps in the background. This quality could be translated into the rubric like mildness, anxiety for others, talk indisposition to, and the remedy that emerged in my mind is calculus. However, there are probably many other aspects to his nature which we know nothing about, and hence we cannot be too sure for this suggestion, but it might be. The character of Dr. Castle comes out best during the surgery at the point where Castle was moving deep into the Craig's brain. The resident doctor cautioned him not to take the risk. At this point, Dr. Castle took the responsibility and went for this deep surgery, and undoubtedly he asked himself what he would do if this was his own child, as he asked himself before deciding to operate. The main feature of Dr. Castle, therefore, is the strong sense of responsibility, a strong will. These two qualities came together in the noble metal gold aurum metallicum, which I think would be the remedy for Dr. Castle. It is interesting to see that the aurum metallicum in periodic table is just the one heavier than the platinum. Now, as to a possible remedy for Craig's father, Amni, the quality of entire story and are that he is very reserved, keep very much in the background, and in this sense is the exact opposite of his exuberant wife and the child. In my view, we need to look for a remedy that is completely complementary to the platinum, is reserve and hold back emotions. I would think of a Staphysaria as a possible remedy was there. And such an analysis as we have done here is obviously mere well thought through a guesswork, not exactly, and may be criticized by some. Yet, I believe that observing life around us is an important avenue of the knowledge. One should not shy away from it or remain confined within the closed door of one's consulting chamber. My attempt in this article has been to try and expand one's horizon and explore the possibility of learning about the homeopathy from the life and about the life to the homeopathy.